Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Monday, December 26th. So today we have the moon in Aquarius all day. We will see the moon go void, of course, around 1:21 p.m., again, Eastern Standard Time. And we will be shifting and locking into Pisces energy here on the 27th. So, we do have the bulk of the day, pretty much half of the day, being spent with the moon being void, which makes things very shaky, uncertain, unstable. Anything that we were sure about, we're likely going to question. It is not good to make any decisions, to align with any choices, to make any commitments while the moon is void. Now, having the moon in Aquarian energy definitely provides us with a little bit of an emotional detachment so that we can look objectively at our situations as they are without the emotions clouding our judgment. And of course, in Aquarian energy, we are very focused on the future. We want to do better. We want to be better. We want to create better. We want to be living better. And it is a very visionary type of energy. So having a lot of insight, a lot of aha moments, a lot of light bulb moments are definitely on the schedule, on the list of things to do. Now, there are 9 different aspects here today. All 9 of them involve the moon. On Monday, that is moon ruled, which means that this is an official moon day. Highly emotional. Even though we are emotionally detached, we will be coming in and out of disassociation, feeling all the feels, and then constantly cutting that right away, moving into space where we feel nothing, and then we are sucked back to reality where we feel everything. So it is going to be a little bit of a emotional roller coaster. So the moon right out of the gate squares, which is a tension point. We get into the boxing ring with Uranus, who actually rules over Aquarian energy. Now, Uranus is retrograde in Taurus energy, trying to show us where it is in our inner realm that we are too hooked up, too attached to the old. Whether that be old topics, old themes, old people, old relationships, old possessions, something about us is hesitant to let go of the old in order to embrace the new. The moon in Aquarius wants us to align with the new, wants us to change, wants us to transform, wants us to open up our minds. And right now, we're having a hard time doing that because of this Taurus energy, very fixed, very rooted, very grounded in this earth energy, and afraid to actually let go of certain aspects of our old selves, our old lives, in order to embrace what the future has in store. The moon is going to semi-square, which is a tension point, with Jupiter, who is now in Aries energy. This is going to bring a lot of big feels, a lot of big ideas, and most of them will likely not be good. Now, this is why we need tension and conflict triggered and activated within us in order to recognize where the problem is at so that we can address it, so that we can solve it, so that we can resolve it, and so that we can move on. But Jupiter does tend to magnify and turn the volume all the way up on whatever it is that we're thinking and feeling. And in Aries energy, we're a little bit restless. We definitely have a little bit of anger, a little bit of, I'm going to say, aggression and frustration from not being able to just, do everything that we want to do like yesterday. And so there is this agitation, if you will, that can come up. And because we are being magnified in our emotions and in our thoughts, we are definitely going to feel overwhelmed in our heart space and in our head space. But again, positive is that we're not going to stay there very long because the moon in Aquarius detaches us just in the split moment where we recognize that we're feeling and thinking too much. The moon in Aquarius is going to semi-square the sun. This is an overlap between the past and the future. Now, from a past standpoint, the moon representing the past, our emotions, from the past in Aquarius energy, this gives us a bird's eye view on our past, where we're being reflective, where we're seeing situations from a different set of eyes, where our perspective and understanding from past situations is changing. While the sun is shining a bright light in Capricorn energy on what it is that we have to build. What do we have to create in order for our long-term goals and dreams to actually have a foundation to be built upon. And what we're left with is this present moment in the here and now, where we're kind of feeling the tug of war energy. If you haven't listened to the ascension forecast for this week, please go ahead and do so. I go a little bit more in depth on where this tug of war is actually taking place and why. But regardless of whether you've listened to it or not, what we're experiencing here is, yep, I'm looking back. Yep, I'm making sense. Yep, I'm having a different perspective, a different understanding. Now I can take that information, that knowledge, I can integrate it into the here and now. And now I can turn my sights, my attention, my energy onto what I have to do to build a brand new situation, reality for myself, where my dreams, where my goals actually stand a chance in being brought to life. The moon is going to have a very awkward interaction with Venus, who is in Capricorn energy, and this is likely going to bring up all the feels. Now, Venus being about relationships, being about worth, being about value, being about, just the safety and security or the lack thereof that we're experiencing. She's in Capricorn energy, so she's very down to earth, very boss bitch type of attitude. If feelings come up, we are going to take the most logical and practical way of compartmentalizing them, trying to make sense of them. But we still do have to experience the not so nice vibes coming to our attention, to our awareness, so that we can process them in a better way and resolve them much faster than we were able to do even about a month ago. The moon, right before it goes void, the last aspect that it makes before going void, of course, is coming up to, bumping into, sitting next with, teaming up with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, who of course is also in Aquarian energy. What this is going to do is it's likely going to make us feel the weight of our roles, of our responsibilities, of the changes, of the transformations, of our to-do list. We're going to feel the weight very, very heavily. Although we are going to feel that weight, it is going to be a good, I'm going to say, energy for us to realize where we have to unload some of this weight, because again, Aquarian energy likes to free us from some of the restrictions, some of the confines, some of the weight, some of the roles and responsibilities that we've outgrown. We are going to feel the weight very heavily so that we can define what it is that we can let go of, what it is that we've outgrown, what it is that we can kind of release before moving forward. Now, there's this I'm going to say up and down effect where we feel this weight. We recognize where we have to put the weight down because we have a job to do, which is building. What are we building? Well, we're building new boundaries in order to make sure that we're protecting ourselves and putting our own wants, needs, and desires first. But we're also building a brand new foundation, a brand new, I'm going to say, framework for us to rearrange our lives in order for us to actually align with the new vision, the new dreams, the new insights that are coming in, inspiring us to make the changes, acting as a catalyst for us to kind of abandon the old that we've been afraid to move away from and put ourselves out there in a brand new territory, futuristically speaking, to see what it is that we can actually manifest and conjure up from here. Again, karmic cycles. Think Saturn, karmic cycles. We just had Jupiter move into Aries. That's a 12-year cycle. We just had the solstice. We closed out a cycle. We're opening up a new one. Capricorn, this new moon Capricorn energy opened up a 2-year cycle for us. There are a lot of cycles and seasons closing out and being initiated. So we're talking about karma. We're talking about what we have to let go of in order to create the space, to have the space to build something new. The moon is going to make a very awkward interaction with Neptune. Again, this is a cluster F. Do we trust our emotions, our intellect, or do we trust our dreams and our intuition? Now, again, spoiler alert, we have to merge the two. The key is always balance. The key is always trying to take a little bit from our intellect, a little bit from our intuition, a little bit from our thoughts, a little bit from our vision. And when we merge them all into this beautiful ball of energy, what we get is, emotionally speaking, we feel good about the insights that we are conjuring up for ourselves. Now, we do feel a little bit of conflict, a little bit of tension before we get to that good place. But you know what? If you weren't triggered or activated and you weren't kind of, put in a situation to feel the bad feels or to think the bad thinks, then you would never sit down and actually problem solve what it is that's bothering you, and you wouldn't take the time to visualize what a new reality could actually look like. So it is very needed. Now, the moon is going to go ahead, make an awkward interaction with Mercury, who is in Capricorn energy. Again, be very cautious about what it is that you focus on and what it is that you allow to leave your mouth, as Mercury, ruling over our thoughts and our communication in Capricorn energy, has the potential to manifest very quickly whatever it is that we're focused on, whatever it is that we speak on. Now, the moon is our heart space. Mercury is our head space. This is an awkward interaction. This is a clash, which means that our heart and our head are not on the same page. A lot of the reason for that, the moon being in Aquarius energy, is so focused on the future. This Capricorn energy that Mercury is in, yes, is also focused on the future, but not until we tie up the loose ends of the past. So the Capricorn energy is like, okay, great. Yeah, we got things to do. We want to build new things. That's great. But you know what? We have all these unfinished projects. We have unresolved issues. Maybe we have to focus on the past and the here and now to clean up some of the things that are, cluster effing the space for us to get started on building the future. So it is a little bit, again, of a tug of war. The moon is going to semi-square Chiron, which is also going to bring up some not so nice thoughts and feels. Chiron, of course, now direct, just went direct hours before the new moon in Capricorn. And now we are ready to kind of tackle some of the things that we've been running from, especially where our pain and trauma has been concerned. Now we unleash a new warrior-like attitude with Chiron being direct. We are ready to kind of, dive into things that we would, typically speaking, previously be running away from, and all in the efforts to heal said wounds so that we can move on and recognize where it is that our unconscious wounds and trauma have been preventing us from actually aligning with the path, with the version of ourselves that we desire to be. So again, a little bit of a cluster F, but is absolutely necessary to put into perspective what kind of wounds, what kind of pain, what kind of memories, what kind of trauma we've been essentially avoiding and running from. And why do we need to do that? Well, it's because the moon is going to bump into Pluto, the great transformer himself that likes to do a deep dive in our psyche, get to the deep down, dirty root problem on where it is that our pain and our trauma, our suffering, our memories have been preventing us from actually stepping into our power and taking control over our lives. And this is essentially a time where we get to have those aha moments, have those epiphanies, come up with a resolution on what it is that we're going to do to deal with some of these thoughts and emotions. And from that, we are going to be freeing ourselves from a lot of weight, a lot of heaviness that we've been carrying in our physical bodies. We know that because Aquarian energy likes to free us from some of the weight, some of the rules, some of the restrictions that, of course, we have to be aware of in order to resolve. So that Plutonian energy, yep, it's intense, but let me tell you, you want that intense energy to be doing its thing and doing its job to kind of show you in your psyche, in your unconscious self, where some of the things that maybe you haven't been aware of need to come into the forefront of your awareness so that we can resolve them. The whole Plutonian vibe is let's examine the pain so that we can turn it into power. Let's examine in the darkness so that we can appreciate the light. And yes, you might have to take a trip down memory lane and really kind of reflect back on some not so good times, but we do so in efforts to look at it from a different set of eyes, a different perspective, a different understanding, so that we can rewrite that situation, so that we can hardwire our thoughts and our emotions to a new narrative that is for us instead of against us. So, like I said, it's a highly emotional day, zoning in and then zoning out. Identifying the problem, wanting to run away from it, and then coming back to it, because if you don't, you are not going to make the kind of progress that you have been praying for.